Hello and welcome to lesson 2.3. So today we are going to learn about logarithmic properties. So the first one we're going to talk about is the product rule. So with the product rule, it states that anything that's inside of the logarithm can be split up into two logarithms of the same base and then added together. So let me give you an example of this. If I had log, we'll say base 3 of 2y. All right, this 2 and this y are being multiplied, so you have a product in there. So you can split them up. So you would get log base 3 of 2 plus log base 3 of y. So all I did was just split up the two things that were being multiplied inside of the logarithm. Then we have the quotient rule. So for the quotient rule, anything that's being divided inside of the logarithm can get split up and subtracted. So we end up with, let's say we had log of 4 over k, or we'll give it log base, I don't know, we'll do log base 3. All right, so we could split this up using subtraction. So we get log base 3 of 4 minus log base 3 of k. So that is one way we can use this property. Then we have what's called the power rule. So when something's being raised to the power inside of the log, whatever that power is can come down in front, right? So if it was x to the power of p, you could bring that p out in front, it becomes p times log base a of x. So an example of this would be if we had log base 4 x to the power of 10, all right? We could bring that power down in front and we get 10 log base 4 of x. Now, for the change of base, that was just in this graph that I put in there, this chart. Don't worry about it. We'll come back to that. You don't need to know that, though, for the time being. And then for the equality rule, if you have the same log base, you can set whatever is inside of the logarithm equal to each other. So, I want you to kind of notice the similarities of these two exponent properties, right? And remember, these are inverse functions, right? If I had like x to the power of a times x to the power of b, that's going to equal x to the a plus b, right? That's the product rule for exponents. Notice how we multiply, we add. With the quotient rule for exponents, x to the a over x to the b equals x to the a minus b, right? So I want you to kind of notice these similarities. Same thing with the equality rule, right? If we have like 3 to the 2x plus 1 equals 3 to the 5x plus 4, the bases are the same, you can set those equal to each other. So these are very similar properties that we used with exponents. So now let's go ahead and apply these properties. So we're going to go ahead and break down this log. So this is being multiplied in there, so we're going to use that product rule. So we get log base 2 of 2 plus log base 2 of x. So this is the initial splitting up. But now we're going to see if we can kind of reduce these. This guy here, I want you to imagine him, what the answer to this is. What is log 2 of 2? Well, it's asking 2 to the power of what is going to give you 2? Well, 2 to the power of 1. So the answer to that would just be 1. And you could simplify log base 2 of 2x to 1 plus log base 2 of x. So hopefully you're kind of seeing how splitting these up allows us to simplify the expression. All right, so now we've got a quotient here, right? We got something being divided. So we're going to use that subtraction rule. We've got log base 3 of 2 minus log base 3 of 3. Now let's see if we could simplify any of these. 3 to the power of what gives you 2? Guess what? That's not a nice number. There's not a, you could solve for that, but you're not going to get a nice number. So for this guy, we're just going to leave him as a log. Then for this log base 3 of 3, it's asking 3 to the power of what? Gives you 3. Well, it's 3 to the power of 1. So we can simplify that to just becoming a 1. Next one. We've got the power rule. We've got something being raised to a power. So if we follow the power rule, we're going to pull that down in front. So we get 2 log base 4 of x. And that would be our answer. All right, next one. So one thing I want to point out here, notice how this 4 is on the outside of the parentheses, which means we kind of have to distribute this or apply it to each term in there. So we got log 5 of 4 to the 4th power, x to the 4th power. So now we can go ahead and split this up. So let's go ahead, we're going to use our product rule. So we get log base 5 of 4 to the 4 plus log base 5 of x to the 4th. Then we can also pull these powers out in front. So we get 4 log 5 to the 4th plus 4 log 5 to the x. Looking here, there's nothing I can reduce. There's nothing I can simplify, right? 5 to the power of what gives you 4? Nothing nice. 4 is not a power of 5. So we're done. All right, then the last one. So this one's tricky. Bear with me here, though, okay? So let's go ahead and deal with our quotient, all right? So we're going to do log base 2 of 9y to the 3 minus log base 2 of 5x to the 9th, okay? But now we need to further split this up. And I want you to notice, we need to use parentheses here. For everything in the bottom, everything that we split apart in the bottom is going to have a negative in front of it because we're going to have to distribute that negative to each term. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're splitting these up. Anything that's in the denominator is going to have a negative sign in front of its log. So let's go ahead and split up this first guy. So we can do log base 2 of 9 plus log base 2 of y to the 3rd. And then we can move this 3 out in front. So we get log base 2 of 9 plus 3 log base 2 of y. All right, so we've simplified that first half there. Now we got to simplify this guy. And I'm actually going to, it's kind of a lot. Ooh, I don't want to cut it. Copy. So I'm going to do it here, and then we'll rewrite it over there. So let's go ahead and simplify this guy. I'm going to get rid of the negative right now. So we can split this up as log base 2 of 5 plus log base 2 of x to the 9th. And then we could bring that 9 out in front, so we get log base 2 of 5 plus 9 log base 2 of x. All right, so now let's plug this back in. So we have to put a minus. Notice how we had that minus sign out in front. So it's minus this entire quantity, all right? Because all we did was rewrite this as this. So now we've got log base 2 of 5 plus 9 log base 2 of x. And we have to distribute. Remember how I said everything that's in the denominator is going to have a negative sign in front of it? So we get log base 2 of 9 plus 3 log base 2 of y minus log base 2 of 5 minus 9 log base 2 of x. And that would be our answer there. Don't be overwhelmed. This was probably one of the hardest kinds of problems you'll get in terms of breaking down logarithms. So don't stress out. Just make sure you really feel good about, I would say 1 through 4. And these are definitely some challenge ones that we'll work on in class.